Hi everyone, this is AJ and welcome back to the channel. I've got another retro movie review for you today. A film from 1989, a forgotten Steven Spielberg film, Always. Let's talk about it. Okay, so the film Always. Yeah, this is a film you don't hear mentioned much anymore. When Steven Spielberg's name is thrown around or spoken about, or his films are spoken about, it's not very often that you hear this particular film mentioned. Now, there's a reason for that, I believe, which I'll come to. Now, this film came out in 1989 in the United States. For us here in the UK, we got it on March the 23rd of 1990. The film is PG rated and runs for 2 hours and 2 minutes. It is directed by Steven Spielberg. I don't need to tell you who he is, you know who he is. The film stars Richard Dreyfuss as Pete Sandich. Now, Richard Dreyfuss has worked with Steven Spielberg prior to this on Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Jaws. So, you know, it was nice to have him back collaborating with Steven Spielberg. Holly Hunter stars in the film as Dorinda Durston. John Goodman as Al Yaki, and an actor named Brad Johnson who plays a character called Ted Baker. They're your primary cast within the film. Now, interestingly, Audrey Hepburn does star in the film as a character called Hap. She's only in a few scenes, more cameo-ish, like extended cameo appearance. She actually died. This was her last film before she passed away. She died on January the 20th of 1993 at the age of 63. She accepted the role within this film because she wanted to work with Steven Spielberg. And who wouldn't? Guy's classic director. The film also stars Marge Heldenberger. I might not be saying, probably not saying that correctly. Now, she starred in Species, she was in Erin Brockovich, and she went on to be in CSI for a considerable amount of time. Yeah, so the film had a budget of $31 million and went on to make worldwide gross of $74 million. So it did make a profit. But let's get into the story of the film. But at the end, I'll explain why the film is generally forgotten now. So the story of the film follows this character of Pete Sandich, played by Richard Dreyfuss. Now, he's a firefighter, an aerial forest firefighter. You know, the guys that fly the planes in and release all the water when there's mass forest fires, this sort of thing. He's kind of a hotshot cowboy pilot who takes risks doing this sort of thing. Holly Hunter, Dorinda, plays his beau, his girlfriend. Obviously they've got a relationship. She works within this team of firefighters as well, but on the ground she can pilot a plane, not very well, but she's primarily sort of ground staff in the tower, talking to the pilots. Ted Baker plays a character who comes into the film a little way in. He's not part of this firefighting team, but he's also a pilot. And John Goodman is Richard Dreyfuss's character, Pete. John Goodman, Al Yaki, is Pete's best mate, who work this job together and this sort of thing. So, obviously, as the story progresses, you get a feel for the relationship between Pete and Dorinda, and you know, the fact that he's very brash and he's quite cocky, and he does love her, but he's never actually told her that he loves her. Now, you're going to see some similarities here as I tell you this what happens in this story. Now, Pete ends up getting killed in a plane crash. Well, not in a plane crash. He saves. It is a plane crash. The plane blows up. He saves Al's life, John Goodman's character, and subsequently gets killed because of that. But he gets sent back to Earth to sort of guide Brad Johnson's character Ted, you know, sort of to mentor him, sort of like be a whisper in his ear to sort of, you know, no one can see him, no one can see Al or sorry, Pete. No one can see Pete and know he's there. This sort of thing. So you can see the similarities beginning with like the film Ghost. So basically, you know, time jumps forward after Pete dies. You know, you see it from Pete's perspective, and time hasn't jumped forward. Things have just literally happened, and he's sent back. Now, Brad has a sort of liking for Dorinda, who's Pete's girl, and Pete doesn't want to let her go. He's a bit jealous over this other guy, even though he's dead. He's jealous over this guy liking her, and this sort of thing. Now, Audrey Hepburn is in the film as a sort of spirit of such that guides Pete in what he should be doing on his remaining time as a spirit on Earth and what he needs to do. And so the story is subsequently is a story of Pete having to learn what he loves and to let go of what he loves, while helping this other younger guy out to basically help bring Dorinda out of her depression, this sort of thing. So it's quite a schmaltzy film. It's one of those sort of schmaltzy Spielberg films, you know. So yeah, so that's how the story goes. I won't tell you beat for beat what happens or anything like that. Now, the film, like I said, had a budget of 31 million, and in some scenes it does show there are some fantastic scenes with these low-flying aircraft going through the burning flames, this sort of thing. It's obviously going to be all model work and this sort of thing, a lot of it, but it looks fantastic. Richard Dreyfuss is on point in this film. He's a joy to watch. He's very charismatic. You know, he's a wonderful actor. Back in the day, back then he was brilliant, and he's a joy within this. John Goodman, again, just delivers in the role of Al Yaqui, and Holly Hunter's very likeable as the character of Dorinda. So, you know, the relationships are built up slowly. You get a sense of relationship. You get a sense that these characters are friends and that they care for each other. The time is taken to build the relationships. Not like in films that you get today when it's, you know, you have people that are meant to be friends, but you don't get a sense of it. But in here, you get it, time's taken. You know, the film's written in such a way that the time is taken to build up the relationship between these characters. So in that sense, it's a really good film, and visually, it's very good. Steven Spielberg does deliver always, and this film is no exception. Now, like I said, the film's forgotten, and the reason being is because of the film Ghost, the Patrick Swayze starring film, which came out about 6 months after this, and cleared up at the box office. Now, Ghost itself had a budget about $11 million less than this film, and whereas this film went on to make 74 million, Ghost went on to just make about 500 million, so way more than this film. A lot more people saw it, and the similarities are there with Ghost. It's a very sort of similar, it's a story. It's one of them these films that you get like when you had Ants and Bug Life's come out, or Deep Impact and Armageddon, Volcano, Dante's Peak. There's a wealth of them. You know the films I'm talking about. You get two out at the same time. One has to you know, deliver, and the other one falls by the wayside. Unfortunately, this film sort of fell by the wayside, which is unfortunate because it is a really good Steven Spielberg film. Now, it's obviously all character driven, all this, a little bit of action splattered here and now, a few laughs, a few giggles along the way, but ultimately it's a character study in Pete and Dorinda's relationship, their love, and the fact that, you know, what she goes through when he dies, and the pain that she's feeling. He's brought back to mentor this guy who actually is in love with her, so he feels the pain of having to try and let her go, or see her sort of move on like with life with someone else, this sort of thing. So it plays into all these sort of themes of love and loss and friendship, and it does it fantastically. Now, my only niggle with the film is at 2 hours and 2 minutes. It probably feels maybe about 10-15 minutes too long, but that's me just being niggly and nitpicking, because it is a wonderful film. It's a forgotten Spielberg gem that, you know, that should be revisited and should be remembered. Now, the soundtrack for this film, long-time collaborator of Steven Spielberg, John Williams. Yeah, John Williams scored this film. He scored every single Steven Spielberg film up to this day, up to this year. bar the exception of one, I believe. I may be wrong, but I believe so. Now, the soundtrack for the film, John Williams, you can tell it's John Williams. You can tell he's got his style to it. Although it's not one of his best soundtracks, one of his best scores, it's not overly memorable or anything like this. But it is well suited to the film and does help a long way. The musical scores in films do help, and this film is no exception with that. I watched it the other night, or last night actually. I watched it on Blu-ray, and I haven't seen the film for I don't know how long. I haven't seen it since it came out, probably. I haven't seen it since the early 90s at least, and it was a joy to revisit. It's a damn good Steven Spielberg film, and I'd highly recommend you go watch it. So yeah, anyway, that's my review for this film. I really hope you enjoyed that. I really hope you check this film out if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, let me know your thoughts on it. What do you enjoy it? Don't you enjoy it? Let me know why and all that. And anyway, so before I go, let me just ask you, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. Help the channel out. Leave me a comment. I'll get back to all comments that are made, and that's a promise. Also, hit the notification bell so you can keep apprised of my upcoming content. Also, I am on Facebook and on Instagram under the same name as the channel here, AJ's Movie Place. So why not come along and hook me up on there? You may catch me live. You don't know, and we can have a talk about films, whatever. You never know. Anyway, I'm shooting off. This is AJ. I'm getting away, and I'll see you next time, hopefully. Take care all. Have a good evening, and look after yourselves. Goodbye.